What you're watching right now was the hardest part of the video to make. And it's not because of any secret crazy graphics or editing tricks I'm doing behind the scenes. No, it's actually always the hardest part of the video to make. It's the beginning. Statistically speaking, this is the only part of the video that 60 to 70% of you are ever going to see. So you're not hearing the first, second, or seventh draft of any of these sentences. This is the most that most of you will ever hear from me, so I refine and refine and refine because it's really important to me that I get it right. And through this process, I've learned that if I want you to stay past that 30-second mark, I need to have some kind of hook, something emotional to grab you and pull you in. So I bought a golf club. And if you stop watching, my wife will beat me to death with it.
The beginning of any story is important. Since most video games are a significant time investment, the beginning will probably decide whether or not you see it through to the end. After playing the opening hours of The Last of Us Part 2, it took me over a year to come back and beat the game. Part of that was due to life circumstances. But most of it was the fact that for the first 12 hours of the game, I just really didn't care about Dina.
That might sound weird. I mean, after all, anger is supposed to be the driving force for the first half of the game, right? I don't think so. Yes, Joel dies early on, but before and after that, you spend hours just exploring with Dina. The player's own fuel for revenge can definitely be part of your motivation, but it's clear that the writers also want you to be invested in Ellie and Dina's relationship. And I think the first 3 episodes of the show get that done better and faster than the first full section of the game. The Last of Us Part 2 is clearly meant for people who have played the first game. It's not the kind of sequel that's all too interested in standing on its own. I mean, a lot of the story falls apart if I don't care about some old dude getting conked on the nog. So the second game expects you to come in with the same mindset that the first game drove in. Care about relationships. In The Last of Us Part 1, Naughty Dog trained you to look at the story through the lens of relationships. You can define the game as a series of Joel's relationships. First with Sarah, then with Tess, and then with Ellie.
Each part of the game is defined by the character you're with. Obviously, Joel has a different dynamic with each of them, but it goes beyond just quips. The gameplay changes to accommodate your companion, their strengths, and how Joel feels about them. Sarah is Joel's most precious connection. She was there before Joel learned to be violent. When you're with her, you physically can't attack because all you care about is getting her to safety. Tess is Joel's partner. Playing with her feels almost like you have a second Joel. She is every bit as competent and brutal as you are. The two of you work together like a well-oiled machine. All of that changes when Ellie comes into the picture. Ellie is the force of change in Joel's life. Her gameplay is unique because just like her relationship with Joel, it evolves over time. At first, she gets shoved to the side and ignored. But over time, as Joel teaches her both directly and indirectly, she becomes a bigger and bigger part of the combat. Not in the same way Tess was, but growing into her own unique style. There are only 2 sections of the entire game where you're alone for a meaningful period of time. When Joel is injured and when Ellie's in the hospital. It's no coincidence that these are the 2 sequences that define the first game's story. Being together is your default state. Being alone means something has gone wrong. Your story is defined by your partner. Except for when that partner is Dina.
Dina's character has one big problem at its core. Her motivation is disconnected from the story. At the start of the game, you're told that Dina and Ellie have been friends for a long time off screen, and they act like people who have been friends for a long time off screen. After Joel dies and Ellie decides to go after his killers, Dina just decides, yeah, I'm going too. Because you're my girlfriend, and I love you, and you can do this. Go get him, Tiger. You could say that this is actually very good and strong characterization for Dina. In a world full of angry, bitter, vengeful, selfish people, she stands out as the one kind and selfless person, willing to put it all on the line just to help the woman she loves. But I think that's exactly the problem. Dina is mostly around as an extension of Ellie. For a good part of the game, she doesn't have much of a character outside of being nice to Ellie. On a thematic and narrative level, she works. But on a mechanical level, she really doesn't. You only have Dina as your companion through day one of Seattle. And in that time, Dina doesn't impact the game the same way any of your companions in the first game did. There's no distinct feeling to Ellie and Dina's teamwork. You could argue that she's a Tess kind of character. Obviously, she and Ellie have been on patrol before, so they know how to work together. She's there to help ease you into the game, to give you some backup during those hard combat encounters, and to make it even scarier when she gets locked in pregnancy jail and you have to go out all by yourself and it's super scary. I say it like a joke, but I got genuine. I was peeing my pants playing this game. This is a scary game, all right? I hate the stalkers. The difference is that where Ellie and Dina have a very flat cooperative dynamic, Joel and Tess have a constantly shifting codependent dynamic. She constantly has little moments where she takes the lead. Times where she tells Joel what to do, where to go, how to handle the situation. Moments that imply a bigger life, things going on outside of you that you and Joel never get to know about. Tess has her own things going on. Dina only has Ellie's things going on. Compare the Ellie and Dina dynamic to the Joel and Ellie dynamic. When Joel and Ellie first meet, they hate each other. And the writers make room for the idea that you, like Joel, might not care about this random child. And so the game spends time building up this relationship at its core, letting you participate as they move slowly, inch by inch, from shipper and cargo to father and daughter. Even as Joel grows closer to Ellie emotionally, he still never allows her full agency. He simply refuses to accept her as her own person, capable of making her own decisions.
Where the first game assumed that you wouldn't care about Ellie, the second game feels like it assumes you already like Dina before you press start. Meeting Dina feels like meeting your friend's new girlfriend. It's like the writers plopped her down and said, "You like Ellie, right? Well, Ellie really likes this girl, so you're gonna really like her too." But if you've ever made small talk with your girlfriend's coworkers, you know it doesn't work like that. Early game Dina feels like I accidentally hit X and skipped the cutscene geared to make me fall in love with her. Maybe it was the weed, I don't know. But the way it stands, being nice to a character I like is something that would make me a fan of a two-line NPC. Not enough to get me hooked on the main supporting character of the whole story.
Dina not having a lot of independent motivation means that her and Ellie's relationship can't support the kind of interesting tension that Joel and Ellie had. She doesn't show any reservations about Ellie's revenge mission. For the first couple hours of the game, Dina just feels like she's there because this is The Last of Us, and in The Last of Us, you have two characters. She's not there because she needs to be there. She's there because the writers needed a warm body on the back of the horse. The opening episodes of The Last of Us Season 2 made two important changes that immediately made Dina a stronger and more interesting character. First, they cast Dora the Explorer. And second, they gave her her own independent motivation for revenge. At the time of Joel's death, Dina is better friends with him than Ellie is. And they establish this from the first conversation between the two of them, which is, on its own, more than they ever interact in the entirety of the game. In this scene, Dina makes an effort to approach Joel on his own terms. She gets him talking about his job. She puts herself in his world. And then, once he's already talking and comfortable, that's when she asks about him and Ellie. And she listens to his response. She pays attention to him. When he starts to get uncomfortable with the conversation, she tries to push it back towards a topic she knows he's comfortable with, before he continues on talking about Ellie. These two have a mutual respect. They're friends. This version of Dina isn't trying to replace Ellie, but she is spending the time with Joel that Ellie won't. She's sitting down and talking with him. She's having regular movie nights with him. To this Dina, Joel isn't just a distant pseudo-father-in-law type figure. He's her friend, something of a mentor even. She and Ellie go into the supermarket in part because it's something Tommy and Joel would have done. Consciously or not, she does admire and imitate Joel on some level, which makes it hurt that much worse when she's the one in the lodge when Joel dies. This is the best change the show made. It's followed immediately by the worst change the show made, but you know what? This ain't about that. With this change, Dina becomes an actual important player in the plot. She has her own score to settle. She was betrayed by the person she helped rescue. She was forcibly drugged by the people who killed her friend.
And because she was there, she can be a vital part of carving the warpath to Seattle. Episode 3 sets up a great contrast between Ellie and Dina. Dina is, in a lot of ways, the brain to Ellie's brawn. She thinks about the things that Ellie doesn't consider. She saw the patch on the backpack that Ellie didn't notice because she was busy watching Joel get a hole-in-one. When Ellie wants to go off half-cocked with 5 guns in a dream flying by the seat of her pants, Dina steps in and takes care of logistics to make the trip actually feasible.
This scene where Dina comes in and gives Ellie the supplies and the plan to go take revenge on Abby's crew. I see this as the culmination of all the changes made in adaptation that made this Dina a different, stronger character. I entirely believe that this version of Dina would do this, because this Dina wants to avenge her friend, and she knows that this is the only way she can do it. Together, she and Ellie can accomplish what neither one of them ever could on their own. If you gave Game Dina this exact same scene at this exact same point in the story, it wouldn't feel genuine. It would feel like the writer's just desperately trying to give her something to do. At the same point where I can buy Show Dina shaping the course of the narrative, I can't imagine Game Dina doing anything but yapping on Ellie's back. Nothing but the Daxter to her Jack. So how much does this change the story overall? Sure, Dina has a better introduction in the show, but how does the story as a whole pan out? Is the show better than the game? That's hard to say, is what I would say if it was hard to say, which it's not. It's incredibly easy to say. The answer is no, absolutely no. Gosh, no. This is like one of the only things the show has going for it. They make so many changes that baffle me. They make no sense. I mean, the freaking the therapy scene, Tommy's therapy scene in the middle of a baseball game, that is Detective Pikachu levels of lazy writing. He is just sitting there explaining directly to the camera, hey, I feel sad about this thing and kind of mad about this thing. What are you doing? Why do you even have a character that's a therapist? I hate her. She's a source of so much lazy. She gets some time.
Oh my goodness.